Yo, 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 it's your girl and boy CT. I'm Cindy Barnes.
And I'm Travis Barnes.
And we are the founders of the Overcomers Podcast.
Sponsored by Journey 333. That is a place of mind, body, spirit that helps you with fitness, coaching, and nutrition to look better, live better, and feel better. We produce these episodes every week for your enjoyment to help people to overcome adversity and live their dreams.
Yo, 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 it's your girl and boy CT. I'm Cindy Barnes.
And I'm Travis Barnes.
And we are the founders of the Overcomers Podcast.
The Overcomers Podcast is sponsored by Journey 333. That is a place of fitness, coaching, and nutrition, mind, body, spirit, where we help people to look better, live better, and feel better. On today's show, the Overcomers Podcast, we are super excited to have guest Charlotte Dunford with us. Charlotte is a partner in Johns Creek Capital. Johns Creek Capital. That is an investment company. I can't wait for her to tell you all about it. But Charlotte is a true overcomer, coming here at age 16 from China with just the clothes on her back, pretty much. You'll be interesting to hear. She didn't even have a phone, had to borrow a phone when she landed in Philly. So I'm going to let her tell you all about that. But Charlotte, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, well, you're an overcomer, and we're just excited that you could share with our audience about the success that you're creating for yourself, despite such humble beginnings. And in fact, if we could we start off at those beginnings? You know, what was the motivation to come here at such a young age? And can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Right. So I came to the United States when I was 16 years old, without my parents. So the motivations really started with a dream that I've always had to attend an American university and to really change my life for the better. The dream that I've always had when I was little, but never had the chance to. But at 16 years old, I felt that going to an American high school could really help me out in giving myself an advantage to get into a top university here in America. So that's why I pretty much went into the living room and told my parents that, hey, I want to go to America for high school, and we already found a school. I applied and got accepted, and they were pretty opposed to it at first, especially my father. It's pretty difficult for him to let his only daughter at 16 go abroad to a country where he doesn't speak the language of. I don't know a soul in the country, and I didn't really speak English that much. And like you said, I did not even have a phone. I lost the luggage in the way. That's a 20-hour journey in that economy class little seat that I flew over. So, but the motivation behind it was really just to, fulfill my ambitions to really make something out of myself, out of my life in the United States. And that's what I did. Fast forward 10 years later, through so many trials and mistakes and small successes along the way, I'm able to stand here today and be in the position I am. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're a successful woman, a successful investor, and we have lots to learn from that. I do have a question, though, that has a little bit to do with, you arriving here in America and being so courageous as to do that. I have found in my own past, which, our listeners know, there's a book about that. We won't get into that. But in my own past, I have leaned on my struggles to find the strength for my success. And so I was just curious if, as you've become the ambitious woman that you are and, success driven, what about your experience and being courageous enough to come to America and, maybe any struggles that you had along the way? Do you kind of think has helped develop the kind of character, helped you to become the woman that you are, if you will?
Travis, I think you're spot on. I think it's exactly the struggles that I went through, the pains that I went through that made me who I am today. Starting from how I was raised, the upbringing in China. So I was born in a very small town of northeastern China, extremely cold. Pretty much for 6 months of the year is winter, and the kind of winter that you probably won't experience in extremely cold climates. The place is close to Russia and Japan and North Korea, so this little town is really doesn't have much of a future and is cold. And I grew up without heating, without I would have to, you hear those stories of those kids going to school in deep snow and walking to school for 3 hours, something that really was my story, and that's really how I grew up. And growing up, one of the first memories I had really in my life, starting to have memories, is when I would be so cold in the apartment. The apartment was so small, and I was just shivering in the coldness. So that's where I came from, and because of those hardships, and because of the small apartment me and my family lived in, and the dictatorship that I lived under, the communist regime of China, all of that added together really just gave me this drive to say to myself that I really need to get out of this. I really need to give myself a better future, and I don't care what my classmates say, what my friends say, what my family say. If they want to settle in a place that's like this, maybe they have lost the will to fight. But for me, I didn't, and I just saw that there are so many possibilities in this world. Maybe not on this land, but in a different land, in a new land, I could do this. So I think all those, how you call it, hardships, growing up definitely gave me the strength to go forward. And definitely when I arrived in the United States as someone with no resources, no connections, no relationships, no English skills, no money, just a child, I think that alone, that combination alone, gave me lots of struggles, obviously, and trying to adapt, living under someone else's roof, trying to trying to understand how to survive in a society, in a place where you don't know anyone. You have to kind of make people happy, and understanding that from a very young age, understanding the social dynamics of the circle that you're in, trying to please, I guess, the right people to survive, is all on a survival mode. I think all of that really gave me the resilience that I need today to be an entrepreneur.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One of the phrases that we use a lot at Journey is that the way to succeed is to never give up. So that's written on the walls of our franchise. And I think that to never give up really requires good perspective. If you've never had a struggle, you might give up more easily. But if you find yourself in certain situations where you're trying to make it in America, and you can think back to that cold, small apartment and the communist dictatorship and just different things that you lived under, you're able to say, this isn't so bad. I can push on because I have a perspective of when things were even more difficult, right? Or maybe just
Right.
3-hour flight over and not knowing anybody, how scary that was, so that when life gets scary, it's not as scary as some of your perspectives, some of your
Yes.
points.
Yes.
So how did that evolve for you? So you came over, you were like on an exchange program, is that what it was? Or like, you
No, it was just straight up coming over. There was no one to exchange with. There's no program. So I just applied for a high school here in America. It's a small Christian school because, as a non-US citizen at the time, I am now, but at the time I was an American citizen. So I could not go to a public school. And that means I only had private schools to choose from. Obviously, my family could not, there's no way we could afford a, not legit, but really fancy private school. So we found a really tiny, small private school in the middle of, pretty much in the middle of nowhere, and very, very small school in Pennsylvania, and so I attended school there, and I met my host family for the first time. Wonderful people, in 10 years ago now, and I just remember the taxi finally picked me up and drove me to their house. I call it the forest because they're this wooded area, and they pulled up and they came out to greet me, and that was my first American encounter, really. And then after that, I graduated high school, and as I worked extremely hard to get done with my SATs and got into one of the top engineering colleges in the nation, especially here in the South, at Georgia Institute of Technology. And after that, I took a job in Alpharetta, Georgia, as a business analyst, and the rest was history as I started Johns Creek Capital, the mobile home park investing firm.
Wow. So that is really interesting. Also, coincidentally, we are interviewing you today from Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Life kind of travels in different circles and brings you back. So, as you're talking to some of our Pennsylvania listeners, I'm sure that they are identifying, some. Um, so yeah, let's talk just a little bit more about that, if you will.
Yeah,
You went to school by trade to be an engineer.
right.
Okay. And then after graduating, you became an investment analyst. Is that right?
Right. So I got in as a industrial engineering major, but I switched majors after second year of college to be a business major, and then I graduated to be a business data analyst.
Okay. All right. And so when did we get to John Creek's Capital along the way? Like how did that come to be? Like,
Right.
into that whole plan.
Great question. So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've never been the kind of person to take a normal path per se. Just look at my, how I my story. It's just not a normal path for a Chinese kid in my small town of northeastern China. So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, especially in real estate, because as a Chinese person, I grew up not owning any property. We never own any properties because in China, you actually cannot legally own any property. You lease it from the government for 70 years and you have to give it back. So you don't have any control over any property. But here in America, you can actually buy property and it's yours. So that idea always fascinated me, and I've always wanted to own properties, real estate. So combining real estate and my entrepreneurial interests, immediately after I took the job, I was employee, W-2 employee. So I used my salary to finance my deals. So I started with a single family home in the south of Atlanta, where to start my first deal. And then after that, I used the money that I saved and my 401k and my salary to qualify for another deal using bank loan, a duplex. So that's my second deal. And after a while, and after the second deal was successful, I thought, I don't really want to wait to start my entrepreneurship journey. This is what I want to do. And some people, they want to be an entrepreneur, and some people they can't survive without being an entrepreneur. And I'm definitely the second one, that I cannot do much without being an entrepreneur. So that's really what I wanted to do. So I quit my job, really took the jump without much saved up. I was married at the time. Well, I'm still married, but at the time, my husband was still a college student at Georgia Tech. We graduated from the same college. He didn't have a job. We didn't have anything saved. I just worked for a year and a half at a corporate job. Didn't have much saved, but I decided that it was a calculated risk as I educated myself throughout the time I was working and my real estate experience. So I quit my job and started this venture. And then soon after that, I met my business partner and really built the team from scratch, along with my business partner and all of our team. And it grew into what it is today, 4.2 million. Right now it's 4.7 million, over $4.7 million investor subscription, and 24 mobile home parks under our portfolio.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And once again, your struggle led to your success, because Cindy and I are sitting here and we both just looked at each other because we didn't realize how it worked in China, that you lease your property and have to give it back to the government, and nobody's allowed to own property. And so that was a fascinating thing for you, but it came from the struggling situation that you live under, right? I mean,
Right.
the thing that Americans take for granted, right? I mean, that's
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, we're like, oh yeah, we can own a property if we want to, but maybe we don't, right? I mean, because it's already there for you.
Yeah, I think that's truly a blessing, because without the perspective, like you said, keep it in perspective. I'm just extremely grateful for the hardships that I went through and where it came from, because without that, I wouldn't know how precious it is to have what I have today. And I was naturalized as an American citizen this June, 2021. So recently naturalized. So I just remember in the courtroom, I could not believe that fact that when the judge announced that you are now a U.S. citizen, I just felt something changed in me. And that moment I've been waiting for 10 years, well, maybe longer than that, since I was a child. And I was the national anthem played in the courtroom, I could not believe my eyes how far I've come. And I think it's important in life to really, don't give up and achieve the things you want, because once you achieve it, you can really look back and think, at the time, I really thought this was a mission impossible, but indeed it is possible. And you can look back on what you did to make it possible. And then you can use that as a tool to make yourself more successful. I think that's extremely critical.
Well, congratulations on your citizenship. That is just so cool. And
thank you.
And to hear how that was for you and how long it took, and just the pride that you have over the moment, and that it was a dream fulfilled. That's awesome. And
thank you.
I wanted to ask, as you were able to take from your salary and save for your first deal, and then do your second deal, and then get a loan for that, and then you talked about calculated risk. Do you feel that because of your circumstance that you grew up in, that you, when compared to maybe some of your social circle, your friends or other people that you have knowledge of, that you were able to save a bit more than the average person in order to make this thing happen?
Yeah, definitely. There are two things. One, we can save a little bit more because, I come from a culture that is a big deal in the Chinese culture to save money. That's all they do. My parents, that's all they did, save all their life. They would save one Chinese dollar, which is 10 cents, to avoid AC air conditioned bus, to just save that $1. So that's the cultural aspect of it. Another thing is the risk taking part, and I think something that it's stopping a lot of people is not just the saving money part, is the risk taking. They don't really want to take the risk, even if it is an educated risk, calculated risk, where there is a reward at the end. There's a lot of people don't want to take that jump because it is risky for them. And for me, I think the reason I was willing to take the risk is because I really went through a lot of interesting and difficult, dangerous situations even. So for me, nothing could be worse than what I had before. So I wake up every day now thinking that today is a bonus, because the day I became American citizen, my dream was fulfilled. So any other day I have is like an extra credit for me. So I don't really have any doubts, fear, or risks. There's risks, but I don't have much fear over it, because I know that whatever this comes to is going to be 100 times better than what I had growing up, what I had when I first came to the United States. So once someone goes through some I'm talking about extreme hardships, nothing really matters, and nothing really seems as bad as before. And you really do have the courage to go forward because of, what you had before. Nothing stops you then.
Yeah, I think that, what a combination for you to be a financial analyst that can analyze the risk, but at the same time, to have the perspective. You want to talk about risk, coming here from another country, barely speaking English at 16 years old, just with a dream to motivate you and not really knowing what you would encounter. And then, of course, having the reference point of that, that's always helped me too. I mean, I've had definitely been down to less than zero in my struggles. And so my reference point, even during the pandemic, when businesses were shutting down, I knew that I wasn't going to go back to the worst spot that I'd ever been in my life, So
exactly, yeah.
So let's talk about Johns Creek Capital and what you're able to do for yourself and others, and kind of sharing how your entrepreneurial mind meets your financial analyst mind, and how this mobile home park investing has become such a thing that you'd recommend others.
Right. So as the audience, you're listening, you can probably tell that I do a lot of things off the beaten path. And Mobile Home Park is really an off the beaten path investment group, investment asset group, because when you think about investments, you think about real estate, commercial real estate, apartment buildings, multifamily, single family, flip a house, all those things. But Mobile Home Park, it has really been a long ignored asset class, and it's really a niche. And what we do, Johns Creek Capital, is we do something, we're in the niche within the niche, which is interesting because when I got into real estate, got into mobile home parks, I thought, okay, this is really blue ocean strategy, that there's not a lot of competition there, which is why it's profitable. And I really looked into it and thinking that, I really don't want to go out there and compete with people with those financial institutions with billions of dollars just to pour into an asset for a 3% return. I want to be in an asset class or a niche within the mobile home park niche where I can make money, higher internal rate of return. So our parks are actually small to medium level parks, which is kind of a niche within niche. And our goal is really to develop a monopoly within this small niche, which is important. And then we can expand out of that. For now, and from when we started in 2020, late 2019, early 2020, it's only been a year. And we really grew rapidly in this niche, and that's important as we go forward into 2022 as economy, the COVID starts to, recover, and that its impact start to kind of like taper off. We are looking forward to a even bigger 2022. So this niche is extremely attractive to me because, again, it's off the beaten path and the high cap rate, and not everybody's trying to chase after this one hot thing, which makes it better for investors like me who want to find the diamond in the rough to make something out of it. And we are, our mission is to serve our investors well and establish the communities and provide high quality housing and that American dream of home ownership. And really my dream to a lot of hardworking people.
Well, we are excited to be talking to you. Well, it's almost considered a ground floor time in your company, even though you've had so much growth already. In the early stages, it's typically then that people are going to benefit the most by, getting on board and that kind of thing. So Johns Creek Capital, as far as your clients or how people engage with, investing with you and that kind of thing, how does that work? Do you serve clients all around the country? Do you serve clients all around the world? Do you take clients more specific to the area that you're in? How does that work?
Yeah, currently most of our investors are, all of them are within the United States and all over the country. Mobile home park is really an all-American asset. When you think about it, you don't really have any mobile home parks in other countries except for Canada. And in America, is really majorly in America, you don't have any mobile home park. It's not really a concept anywhere else. So most of them are from, in the Southeast, but, they're from all over the country. It's really not a strong, difference there. And most of our clients are accredited investors by the SEC definition. And some of them are not accredited, but they do have some real estate experience, which makes them the sophisticated investors. So those are the two types of investors we work with primarily.
Okay. And then there's a benefit to be learned, isn't there, about the value of investing in lots versus a regular, property type investment, as far as why you might recommend that over another, or if you could just compare.
Great question. Yeah. So mobile home park is a parking lot business. The closest asset class I would compare it to is the parking lot, and the trailers we call the mobile homes are parks on the parking lots. So you get the lot rent from the tenants who own the homes. So they are just like a car, right? The car owner would be responsible to maintain the car maintenance and repairs, and making sure its brake lights are not off, all that good stuff. But as a parking lot owner, you're only responsible to charge them a lot rent for parking rates at your park. So mobile home park is the exact same thing, except for the homes are much harder to move than an actual car. It usually takes about anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 to move a home, and if the home is older, it can't even be moved because you'll be shattered on anything faster than 1 mile per hour speed. So that's the stability of the asset class, and that's why the turnover rate is low, is because they can't really go anywhere. So yeah, it's a parking lot business. That makes the expense ratio a little bit lower. And
Yeah. If I'm understanding this correctly, which, we've contemplated becoming landlords ourselves, and we have friends who are landlords. And
mhm.
so this is the best kind of landlord to be, because one, your tenant is not likely to move if they've come and parked their house
Yeah,
on your property because it's so expensive for them to move. And typically the landlord always has the issues of maintaining the property, whereas in this case, you're really renting the lot space. So the maintenance of the property is still the tenant, the person.
right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but
Very
you are responsible for utilities, right? So if there's something underground utilities or electrical poles or, common area lawn care, you are responsible for that. You're also responsible for the taxes for the asset, the land. You're also responsible for other contract services and legal costs, and there are costs related to that. It's just a different asset class. So not to say that this asset class is easy to manage, it definitely has its tough times because of the nature of this asset class and the demographic that's associated with it. But it's definitely, if it yields profit, then it's a good asset, right?
Mhm. Yeah. So as a franchise, we try to look for different opportunities. If somebody contacts us and says, "Oh, I think I'd like to have a Journey franchise," we try to look at the population of the area. We try to look at the income of the area, different things that we think might help them to be successful, maybe where there are properties available, how much competition there is. How do you, as a company, start to identify different opportunities that you think will be good in mobile home park investing?
Yeah. So as a company, we have developed our own algorithm to identify and qualify. We have a scoring system, and the scoring system pretty much has several, many different parameters, and with which each parameter we assign a weight to the importance of that parameter. For example, population, employment, unemployment rate, housing vacancy, and rent gap between the lot rent and local apartment rent. So all of those parameters have a different weight. And then once we have a deal, we look at every deal we can find, and then I can say that there aren't any deals really out there. If you can find it, we've most likely already underwritten it, either pursued it, made an offer, or done something with it. So we process all of these deals like through this machine of our algorithm to qualify it or disqualify it by assigning a score to each parameter. And if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't pass, we'll move on to the next deal. And some of the important parameters we look at is a tenant-owned versus park-owned ratio. What that means is that we want the park to have at least some tenant-owned properties. What that means is that the homes are actually owned by the tenants. So this park actually serves as a parking lot instead of a park-owned home rental property, which is the business we don't want to get into. But if there are park-owned homes, the park-owned homes need to be relatively new. Like the one that we currently have, the park-owned homes are actually pretty much brand new, from manufactured in 2020. So that's very important because that really drives your expense ratio. Another thing we look at is the spread between the cap rate and the interest rate if you're getting a loan. For example, if you're getting a 4% interest rate, you want to make sure the cap rate you're buying this asset as is at least 3 to 4 points above your interest rate. And that's how you can yield close to a 20% return, is that you have to have that spread. Without that spread, you'll be bleeding out money every month. So those are one of two of the many major parameters we use to qualify our deals.
Well, thank you for sharing those and taking time to educate our audience. Is there anything else that you'd like to share today about Johns Creek Capital?
Yeah, so Johns Creek Capital into 2022, we're extremely excited to, we have grown tremendously over the past year and a half, 2 years almost. pretty much a year and a half, from $0 to $4.7 million in subscriptions. So we're looking forward to continuing growing the company and expand our portfolio and getting more deals at a faster speed with more investors, and really delivering our results to our investors who invested earlier, and we're actually in the process of doing 2 of them. So if you would like to get connected with us to learn more about our investment opportunities, please go to our website at johnscreekcapital.com, and you can fill out a form, or you can reach out to me directly. I'm sure Travis would provide the email.
Yeah, definitely. If you could share with us any email or social links right now. I mean, I think that you're inspiring to all of our audience, I'm sure, so you're an interesting woman to follow. And so for people that want to follow entrepreneurs like yourself, please share whatever you will.
Will do. Thank you. So like I said, the Johns Creek Capital, johnscreekcapital.com is our website, and to email me directly is cdunford@johnscreekcapital.com. So pretty simple.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we will definitely put that in the show notes. And Charlotte, you're an inspiration, right, Cindy?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're super daring, courageous, and your English is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
For someone that came over here that you said you barely spoke English is amazing, and what you've done.
Thank you so much.
Kudos to you for sure. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for being on our show today. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Overcomers Podcast, sponsored by Journey 333. When I am not hosting the Overcomers Podcast, I am working at one of our fitness franchises so that I can continue to help people overcome adversity on a daily basis. That's right, people come to the Journey 333 fitness franchises because they want a coach in their life. They want somebody to help them overcome the adversities of life, motivate them to higher levels of greatness, bring out their potential, help them lose weight, get off medications, fight depression, fight anxiety. That's what we do on a regular basis. If you feel like you want your life to be about helping more people to overcome their adversities, if you feel like you're an overcomer and you want to create more overcomers, then maybe owning a Journey 333 franchise would be for you. To find out more, go to www.journeyfitness333.com.